The dining table groaned under the weight of my mother's perfect roast. It was our annual family reunion, and the air was thick with polite chatter and simmering tension. I had brought my homemade apple pie, a recipe I'd worked on for months. As I placed it carefully on the sideboard, my sister Emily's sharp laugh cut through the room. "Oh, Shirley, you didn't," she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. Everyone turned. "Store-bought is fine, you know. You don't have to pretend." My cheeks flamed. Before I could explain it was homemade, she sighed loudly, addressing the table. "She means well. She just never quite fits, does she? Honestly, sometimes I think she's the embarrassment of the family." The words hung in the air, a public verdict. I stood frozen, my heart a cold, hard stone in my chest. Just then, my phone buzzed in my pocket. The humiliation was a physical ache. I mumbled an excuse and retreated to the kitchen, leaning against the cold countertop. I needed a minute to breathe. With trembling hands, I pulled out my phone. The notification was a text from Dr. Alistair Finch, my former professor and mentor. "Shirley," it read. "I hope you're sitting down. I came across your published paper on the new database architecture." I showed it to Dean Whittaker at the university. He's stunned. He's calling it groundbreaking. He wants to meet you. I read the words twice. A flicker of warmth, a tiny spark of hope, began to melt the ice in my veins. My quiet, solitary work, done late at night after my day job, had been noticed. By the dean. A slow smile touched my lips. Then Emily's voice pierced the moment from the doorway. "Still hiding, Shirley?" Emily leaned against the doorframe, a smirk playing on her lips. "Can't handle a little family honesty?" I took a steadying breath, clutching my phone. "Actually, Emily, I just got some incredible news. My research was seen by Dean Whittaker. He wants to meet me." I watched her face, waiting for the shock, the apology. Instead, she threw her head back and laughed, a harsh, ringing sound. "Oh, that's precious. Dean Whittaker? Seriously? Shirley, you've always had such a vivid imagination. It's sad, really. When will you stop dreaming so far above your station?" The spark of hope sputtered. The familiar weight of her dismissal settled back on my shoulders. I was just foolish Shirley again. Later that night, as I cleared the untouched pie, a formal email arrived on my phone. The email was an official invitation. Dean Arthur Whittaker requested my presence at the exclusive Future of Digital Systems conference at the university next week. It included a VIP pass. For days, I moved in a daze of quiet preparation. I researched every speaker, reviewed my paper until I knew it by heart, and chose my outfit with care, a simple, professional dress. This wasn't about showing off. It was about proving, to myself more than anyone, that I belonged in that room. I would let my work speak for me. My plan was simple: be prepared, be professional, be invisible until necessary. On the eve of the conference, Emily called. "So, I heard a silly rumor you're going to that academic thing at the university tomorrow," she said, her tone light and mocking. "Who even invited you?" The conference hall was a sea of polished suits and intellectual chatter. I felt a familiar pang of doubt, but I squared my shoulders. During a panel on data innovation, a speaker posed a complex problem about scalable architecture. A heavy silence fell. My hand went up almost of its own accord. Every eye turned to me. I took a breath and answered, breaking down the problem with the clear, logical steps I'd lived with for a year. When I finished, a murmur of approval rippled through the crowd. The panelist nodded, impressed. "Exactly. Thank you for that excellent clarification." I sat down, my heart hammering. A private, fierce smile touched my lips. It was a small win, but it was mine. Across the room, I felt a familiar, cold gaze. Emily had seen it all. Emily descended during the networking mixer, a glass of champagne in hand. She sidled up to the group I was talking with, flashing a brilliant smile. "My little sister, the budding expert," she announced, draping an arm around my stiff shoulders. "She's always been so creative with facts." "Shirley, darling, weren't you just telling me your theory relied on that outdated Carmichael framework?" It was a blatant misquote, designed to make me sound amateurish. The people around us looked confused. I gently removed her arm. My voice was calm, clear. "Actually, Emily, my paper explicitly rejects the Carmichael framework for its limitations. I built on the newer, more robust Vega model. Page 4, if you'd like to check." The correction was polite but surgical. A man next to me nodded in understanding. Emily's smile froze, then shattered. She turned on her heel and stalked away, her plot foiled. After Emily left, a woman with kind eyes and a sharp blazer approached me. "That was well handled," she said. "I'm Anya Sharma. I read your paper. The parallel processing solution you proposed is elegant. I've been trying to solve a similar bottleneck in my own lab." We talked for 20 minutes. She asked insightful questions, treated my ideas with respect, and spoke of her work at a prestigious research institute. For the first time in years, I felt seen. Not as someone's embarrassing sister, but as a peer. As we exchanged cards, she leaned in slightly. "Dean Whittaker isn't the only one who's noticed. There are opportunities brewing for thinkers like you. But the next test is a big one. You'll need to prove yourself on a very public stage." The following Sunday dinner was a battlefield. Emily launched her campaign early. "Shirley's gotten so pretentious since that little conference," she sighed to our parents. "Correcting people, name-dropping deans. It's embarrassing to watch her try so hard." My mother looked worried. "Shirley, maybe it's best to focus on your steady job. These academic flights of fancy." My father remained silent, avoiding my eyes. The old hurt welled up, but I kept my composure. I wouldn't give her the reaction she wanted. My phone vibrated on the table. It was Dr. Finch. "Shirley," his voice was urgent. "The dean's office just called. They want you to present your research to the full university board next Thursday. This is it. The interview that changes everything. Start preparing now." The board presentation was the most important moment of my professional life. I spent every waking hour preparing. I crafted slides, anticipated questions, and rehearsed my speech until my voice grew hoarse. Anxiety was a constant companion, but it was overshadowed by a steely determination. This was my chance. I would not waste it. I confided in my parents, hoping for support. Their concern only deepened. Later, I overheard my mother on the phone. "I just hope she doesn't humiliate herself, Emily." And I heard Emily's reply, crisp and clear through the receiver, "Don't worry, Mom. I'll be there." Someone has to manage the fallout. The boardroom was imposing. 10 stern faces looked back at me from the long table. My palms were damp, but my voice was steady. I began my presentation. As I explained the core of my algorithm, demonstrating its efficiency gains with clear graphs, I saw their expressions shift from polite attention to genuine interest. When I revealed the real-world application that could cut data center energy costs by a projected 40%, one board member, a renowned engineer, began to applaud mid-sentence. The others joined in. It was a mid-presentation standing ovation. The wave of triumph that washed over me was dizzying. Afterward, as I gathered my things, Emily rushed up, her face a mask of faux pride hiding pure fury. I simply picked up my bag and walked past her, my head held high. Emily shifted tactics. At a cousin's birthday party, she worked the room. "We're all so worried about Shirley," I heard her tell a rapt group. "This sudden genius act. The arrogance. She's pushing away everyone who cares about her with this delusion." The words were meant to sting, and they did. I felt the sidelong glances, the whispers. I sipped my drink, refusing to engage. I would not defend myself against shadows. As I helped clear plates, my phone chimed with a new email. The subject line made my breath catch. Notification, National Award for Computational Innovation, shortlist. Winning the Regional Young Innovator Prize was a small ceremony but a massive validation. My name was called in a room full of professionals. As I accepted the polished glass trophy, the applause was real, earned. My family was there, clapping. My parents looked stunned. Emily clapped too, her hands moving in slow, mechanical motion, a strained smile plastered on her face. The local paper even ran a short piece. Local researcher gains recognition. For the first time, my achievement existed outside of Emily's narrative. The following week, Anya Sharma called me. Her tone was serious. Shirley, I need to warn you. I was at a fundraiser and overheard your sister. She was telling people she guided your research and is expecting co-author credit on your future work. I felt a cold anger, clean and sharp. This wasn't just ridicule, this was theft. I didn't confront Emily. Instead, I acted. I compiled every email, every dated draft, every notebook scan that showed the solitary journey of my work. I registered the core concepts with an intellectual property archive. I created a clear, documented timeline from first idea to publication. The work was mine, and I would protect it with quiet, meticulous precision. Knowing I had a fortress of evidence gave me a deep sense of calm satisfaction. At our next lunch, Emily was unusually bright. So, the National Award Gala is next month, she said casually. Such a fancy event. I'm thinking of speaking about the importance of family support and innovation. My own invitation to the National Award Gala arrived, thick and embossed. I was not just a guest, I was a finalist. Emily's plan became clear. She would attend, give a speech as the supportive sister, and upstage any moment I might have. I accepted my invitation and began to refine the short talk finalists were asked to prepare. I would be calm, concise, and brilliant. My confidence was no longer a flicker but a steady flame. At a family brunch, Emily held court. It's a shame Shirley's talk is right after the main awards, she said loudly. Everyone will be tired. I hope she doesn't embarrass herself again in front of the whole country. The week before the gala, a small group of colleagues, including Anya, took me to coffee. We've seen the dynamic, Anya said quietly. We've all had an Emily in our lives. Just know, you have a whole room of allies in that hall. Your work stands on its own. Another, a senior researcher named Leo, nodded. And between us, Dean Whittaker has been asking a lot of questions about you. Not just your paper, about your character, your resilience. He's deeply interested. The feeling of support was like a warm shield. I wasn't alone on this stage. The battlefield was leveling. The gala was a glittering spectacle. I wore a simple dark gown, feeling strong in my skin. Emily arrived in a whirlwind of sequins, immediately drawing a crowd. My sister is here somewhere, I heard her say with a condescending laugh. Probably hiding by the plants. I'll have to go find her soon. The air crackled with my silent anticipation. The award announcements came and went. I didn't win the top prize, but that was okay. Then, the host took the stage again. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special addition to our program tonight. Please give a warm welcome to our surprise keynote speaker, Dean Arthur Whittaker of the university. Dean Whittaker, a tall man with an authoritative presence, took the podium. He spoke about the future of innovation. Then his gaze swept the room and landed squarely on me. True breakthrough often comes from unexpected places, he said. Tonight, I'd like to invite one of our most promising finalists to join me and share a glimpse of that future. Shirley, would you please come up and present your remarkable work? A spotlight found me. 1,000 eyes turned. The walk to the stage felt endless. As I passed Emily's table, I saw her face. All color had drained from it. Her lips formed silent, stunned words. They invited her first? The stage lights were bright, but my mind was clear. I looked at Dean Whittaker, who gave me an encouraging nod, then at the sea of expectant faces. I began to speak. I talked about the problem, my elegant solution, and its potential to change things. I spoke without notes, from the heart and the mind. The audience was utterly silent, then erupting into applause at key points. When I finished, describing a future powered by efficient, thoughtful design, the ovation was immediate and thunderous. People rose to their feet. The emotion that flooded me wasn't just pride, it was a profound catharsis. The underdog had not just survived, she had been heard. After the crowd died down, Dean Whittaker guided me to a quiet alcove. "Outstanding, Shirley," he said, his eyes keen. That wasn't just a presentation, it was leadership. "I'm assembling a new interdisciplinary research initiative on sustainable digital infrastructure. I need a lead researcher with vision, integrity, and grit. Someone who understands the work from the ground up. I am offering that position to you." The world seemed to tilt. A leading research role. At the university. It was everything I'd ever silently dreamed of. Before I could fully process it, I saw a flash of sequins from behind a pillar. Emily had heard every word. She looked utterly shattered. At the next family dinner, the atmosphere was different. My parents were hesitant but proud. Emily, however, was brittle. "I suppose we have to call you doctor now," she sneered as I served the salad. "Though a real degree might help." I put down the bowl. The room went quiet. "Actually, Emily," I said, my voice calm and carrying. "Dean Whittaker offered me a position. I'll be leading a new research initiative at the university." The silence was absolute, then broken by my father's stunned, "What?" My mother's hand flew to her mouth. Then, from my aunt, "Shirley, that's incredible." Applause broke out around the table, real, joyful, overwhelming applause. Emily sat perfectly still, her humiliation complete as the family's admiration shifted to me. Emily's final strategy was a whisper campaign. She called family friends, hinting I had used connections and that my research was ethically murky. But her poison found no purchase. When a cousin asked me gently about it, I simply said, "All my work is documented and publicly available." The university's review was exhaustive. I sent the cousin links to my published paper and the IP archive. The truth was bulletproof. Emily's gossip bounced off the armor of my meticulous, honest work. She was left shouting into a void that no longer echoed her narrative. I learned she had a final, desperate meeting scheduled with a major tech donor she knew. Emily met with Thomas Wright, an influential philanthropist, hoping to secure funding for a family project that would eclipse my news. She spent an hour downplaying my work and promoting her own vision. Mr. Wright listened politely. Unbeknownst to Emily, he was a close friend of Dean Whittaker and had already been thoroughly briefed on my project. The next day, at a public tech forum, Mr. Wright was asked about promising local innovations. He smiled. "I'm particularly excited by the work Shirley is leading at the university. It's the kind of clear, ethical, and powerful thinking we need to fund. Dean Whittaker has found a gem." The praise was broadcast on live stream. Emily's sabotage had backfired, publicly cementing my credibility instead. The final confrontation wasn't dramatic. It was at my parents' anniversary lunch. Emily made a passive-aggressive comment about luck. I finally turned to her, my voice quiet but clear so everyone could hear. "Emily, you've called me an embarrassment for years. You've mocked my work, tried to misrepresent it, and even tried to take credit for it. I have never spoken against you to this family. But I want everyone to know the truth, my achievement is mine. It came from my work, my all-nighters, my passion. Your attempts to undermine it only prove you never really saw me. I stated facts, not accusations." The room was dead silent. Emily stared, her mask gone, revealing only shock and defeat. The family's gaze moved from me to her, and for the first time, they were looking at her with questioning eyes. Vindication came in waves. I was offered a keynote speech at a major international conference. A national science magazine profiled me as the quiet force reshaping data. My research initiative secured its first round of major funding. With each new success, the shadow of the embarrassment faded, replaced by a reputation for quiet competence and brilliance. Emily sent me a long, rambling email, part apology, part justification, dripping with her familiar manipulation. I read it once, then archived it. I did not reply. The power was no longer in reacting to her, it was in building my own world. The silence from me was my final, dignified answer. I stood in my new office at the university, the morning sun streaming through the window. On the wall hung my awards and the first architectural diagram of my team's project. I thought of the dinner table, the pie, the sting of those words. That person felt like a stranger now. The journey hadn't just been about proving Emily wrong, it had been about proving Shirley right. I had my professional respect, my public recognition, and, slowly, my family's understanding. Emily's attempts to overshadow me had only pushed me further into the light. I looked at my reflection in the glass of a framed diploma, a confident woman smiled back. The satisfaction was deep and calm. The humiliation was over. My story, my real story, was only just beginning.